Okay, I'm back for part 2 of our video. I've finished my Amanda Leslie Babin design. As you can see, it's just kind of nonsense. It's just, I've got some checkers, I got some dots, I thickened the lines for my names, rainbows, squiggly snakes. I just went ahead and did whatever was in my mind at that time, just like I did with this one. Now on this one, I chose to use only 3 colors of paint: blue, orange, and purple. You can use up to 4 colors. I would suggest not using more than 4 colors. For those of you at home who are doing this with us at home, if you do not have watercolors available or some type of paint available, you may use crayons or color pencils. But the reason we use watercolors is because you can see easily through to see all your hard work. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start. I've got yucky old watercolors, but guess what? They still work. So I'm trying to get them in there so you can see. I got my jar of water, I got my paintbrush. I'm gonna start, I think, with yellow. I'm gonna make sure I put a little puddle of water in there. Stir it up, stir it up. Okay, now I think I'm gonna start by, I wanna stir some more because that's too light. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go ahead and cover Amanda, my sisters. I only have one sister. Cover her name with yellow. Now so your colors don't run. That's the biggest problem with watercolors, is I would suggest you work on one color at a time. When I did this one, I did all the purple first, then I went back and did the blue, then finally I finished with orange. So since I started with yellow, I'm gonna keep finding areas that I want to be yellow. If I go out of the lines a little bit, that's okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint. I love watercolor. You just wanna make sure if you're using watercolor, you're never digging to the bottom. You wanna make sure your paint is always juicy. What I mean juicy is that you barely have to touch the paint. I'm barely touching it because I've got so much water in that little well. It creates its own paint and I don't have to dig. So I'm just gonna keep coloring yellow. I'm gonna try to do as much yellow as I possibly can before I move into the next color. Again, if you go out of the lines, that's okay. By using only one color at a time, I just noticed I forgot to put my little dots in some of these triangles. Once it dries, I'll have to go back and add my dots in. My paint's still juicy, I'm still good. I'm still good. I'm finishing my, see, I forgot to put the other dots in these, which I'll do, that's no big deal. I'll go ahead and do that after the watercolor completely dries. So I'm gonna go ahead again, add some water to my well, mix it up, and I'm gonna move into the next area. Oh, let's say these little bubbles are yellow, or donuts, or whatever these things are. Whatever these things are, I'm gonna make those yellow. And I think, sorry, I gotta move this a little bit. I think I'm gonna make this whole checkerboard yellow. See how I'm hardly touching the paint? Now I'm gonna turn my paper because I'm gonna find some more areas that I wanna paint yellow. Let's paint the inside triangle here. Let's paint the inside triangle here. Let's paint the inside triangle here. And we'll go ahead and paint these weird eyeball looking things. I don't know, my mind just goes all over the place. So whatever shapes I decided, that's what I was gonna do. So once you have a pretty good amount of your first color in. I'm not gonna do the whole thing because I'm sure you guys have better things to do than to watch me paint all day. So I'm gonna pretend I finished all the yellow that I wanted. I'm gonna wash off my brush really good, and I'm gonna get another color juicy. I think this time let's go with this red. So I'm going ahead and put some water in this red. I'm making it juicy. Mixing it up. And I'm going to try the best I can not to bother the areas that are still shiny. If it's still shiny, that means it's still drying. That has the greatest chance of bleeding colors together, and we want to avoid that. So we want to kind of hop around our picture and go to areas that are dry or not or not touching areas that are wet. So I'm just hopping around. The biggest thing I want you guys to work on is making sure you're never digging in that paint. We want the paint to be transparent. We want to be able to see all your hard line work that you did. So I want to make sure that that paint is transparent enough that I can definitely see Amanda Babin in my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. I'm going to press pause and I'm going to finish it, and then I will show you at the end. Okay, happy painting.